Mean, median, and mode. Measures of central tendency for group data. I have uploaded a video discussing the measures of central tendency of group data. This time, let's talk about the measures of central tendency of group data. Let's start with the mean. If you have a set of data containing 30 or more number of observation, we need to construct a frequency distribution. Here is a frequency distribution of the scores of grade 7 in mathematics tests. Since you want to compute for the mean of this data, then we need to extend this frequency distribution with class midpoint and the product of frequency and class midpoint. Let us learn how to get the class midpoint and the product of frequency and class mark in the next page. Class midpoint. To get the class midpoint, get the average of the lower limit and the upper limit of the class interval. The formula is class midpoint equals lower limit plus upper limit divided by 2. Next, frequency times class midpoint. Multiply the frequency and the class midpoint. So we have the formula. Letter C. Complete the table. To complete the table, we need to follow the formula in the last pages. To get the class midpoint, then we need to add the lower limit plus the upper limit divided by 2. The lower limit in this class interval is 10, plus the upper limit 16. And let's divide their sum by 2, and that is equal to 13. For the class interval 17 to 23, the class midpoint is 20. We have 17 plus 23 divided by 2 equals 20. Follow this formula until the last class interval. Next, the product of frequency and class mark. We need to multiply the frequency and the class midpoint. That is 7 times 13 is equal to 91. For the class interval 17 to 23, we have 5, the frequency times 20, the class midpoint, equals 100. Follow this formula until the last class interval. After that, we will get the sum of all the product of frequency and class mark, and that is 1141. After that, we need to get the sum of the frequency, which is equal to 36. Letter D. Get the mean. Substitute the necessary values from the table to the formula. So we have the formula x bar equal summation of fxm over summation f. X is the mean, and these symbols is the sum of all the product of frequency and the class midpoint. Summation f is the sum of the frequency. So we can read this formula as mean is equal to summation of all the product of frequency and class midpoint divided by summation of frequency. Last, let's substitute. Let's substitute these values into the formula. So we have summation f is equal to 36 and the summation of the product of frequency and class mark is 1141. So that is equal to 31.69. Conclusion. Therefore, the mean of the scores of grade 7 in mathematics test is 31.69. Next, median. In solving the median, we need to extend the frequency distribution by 2 columns, and that is lower boundaries and cumulative frequencies. So how to get the cumulative frequencies and lower boundaries? So to get the lower boundaries, we need to subtract the lower limits minus 0.5. For the class interval 10 to 16, 10 is the lower limit. So that's why we need to subtract 10 minus 0.5 and we get 9.5. Follow that formula until the last class interval. Next, cumulative frequency. Cumulative frequency is a continuous addition of the frequencies in a frequency distribution. For the first cumulative frequency, we need to copy the first frequency, and then for the second cumulative frequency, we need to add 7 plus the second frequency, which is 5. So that's why we have here 7 plus 5 equals 12. So as with the third cumulative frequency, the sum here, 12, is added by 5, and that is 12 plus 5 is equal to 17. Then we have 17 plus 9 equals 26. 26 plus 2 equals 28. 28 plus 7 equals 35, and 35 plus 1 equals 36. Now look at the last cumulative frequency and look at the sum of the frequency. It must be equal. If you don't get a 36 here, so there might have some mistakes in adding the frequencies. So you may go back and review. Okay, now that our table is complete, we can now identify the median class. So how to find the median class? We need to have the formula summation f divided by 2. Our summation f, you can still remember, is 36. Therefore, we have 36 divided by 2, and that is 18. Next, look for the cumulative frequency that is greater than or equal to 18. What number in the cumulative frequency that is greater than 18? Or look for the cumulative frequency where 18 belongs, and that is 26. Therefore, this row is the median class. We can now solve for the median. We use the formula median equals LB plus summation F over 2 minus CFB over FM times I. LB is equal to the lower boundary of the median class. Summation F equals the sum of the frequency or the number of observations. CFB is the cumulative frequency before the median class. Next is the F sub M. So that is a frequency of the median class. Next is the I, which is the size of the class interval. So we can read the formula median equals lower boundary of the median class plus the quantity of the sum of the frequency or the number of observations divided by 2 minus cumulative frequency before the median class all over frequency of the median class times size of the class interval. Knowing the formula of the median of group data, after we identify the median class, we can get the lower boundary, which is 30.5. Our summation f divided by 2 is equal to 18. Our cumulative frequency before the median class, so our median class is here. Therefore, the cumulative frequency before is 17. Next is the frequency of the median class. Here it is, 9. And the size of the class interval, which is 7. So our data needed is ready now. So we can now solve for the median of group data using this formula. So just simply substitute this data. So we have here 30 plus the quantity of 18. So again, we get 18 from here, summation f divided by 2, which is already solved just a while ago. Next, we have to subtract 17, the cumulative frequency before the median class, and all over 9. So that is coming from the frequency of the median class. And let's multiply that by the size of the class interval, which is 7. This time, we need to simplify this step by step. So first, we need to simplify the numbers inside the parentheses. 18 minus 7 is equal to 1. Let's just copy other numbers. Okay, so here 30 plus 5 still copy plus 7 over 9. So y becomes 7. So we multiply the 1 and the 7 outside the parentheses. Next step to that is we have to divide the 7 divided by 9, and that is 0.78. Now we can add 30.5 plus 0.78, and that is 31.28. Therefore, the median of the scores of grade 7 in mathematics test is 31.28. Next is the mode. To solve for the mode, let's identify first the modal class. Modal class is the class interval with the highest frequency. In solving the median, we already get the lower boundary, so that's why here I already reflected the lower boundaries. As what is stated that model class is a class interval with the highest frequency, then we need to look for the highest frequency. Where is it? Oh, 9 is the highest frequency. Therefore, this row is our modal class. Now we can now solve for the mode. That is the formula for the mode. What does this symbol stands for? So LB is equal to the lower boundary of the median class D1 is the difference in the frequency of the modal class, or we may write it in symbols as F sub m, and the frequency of the class interval before it. So that's F sub b. Next, D sub 2 is the difference in the frequency of the modal class and the frequency of the class interval after it. Okay, take note of the before and after. And then the size of the class interval. After that, we can now solve for the mode of this group of data. So this is the formula, and then we need to snip the needed data from the first step of our mode. Now, FB, or frequency before, that is a 5, and frequency of our modal class. So here is our modal class. So that is the frequency of the modal class. And the frequency after the modal class is 2. Next, because our formula of the mode is a little bit complicated, so that is why we need to simplify first the D1 and the D2. So if you can still remember, D1 is a difference of the frequency of the modal class and the frequency before the modal class. So difference, which means we need to subtract. So that is why, so just a while ago, we identify the frequency of the modal class, the frequency before, and the frequency after. So here, let us look at that values, and we need to substitute. So frequency of the modal class is 9, and frequency before the modal class is 5. Therefore, 9 minus 5 equals 4. And that is now the value of our D1 that we need to substitute later. Next, D sub 2 is equal to frequency of the modal class minus frequency after the modal class. So, again, frequency of the modal class is 9 minus the frequency after, which is 2. So that is 9 minus 2. So our D sub 2 is 7. So D sub 2 is 7. So we need to use that later. Okay, so the needed data now that we can substitute in the formula is lower boundary. So we have here 30.5, the D1. So here's our D1, which is 4. Our D2 is 7. And our class interval, or the size of the class interval, is 7. So do not be confused with this 2, 7. So this 7 here is coming from our solution for the D sub 2, and the 7 here is coming from our table. Okay, so this time we're ready to solve for the mode. So this is the formula. We need to substitute this. Okay, so we have here 30.5, our lower boundary, and our D1 is 4. D1 again is 4 plus 7, the value of our D sub 2, and times 7, the value of our size of the class interval. The same with the medians. We need to solve it step by step. That is simplifying the numbers inside the parentheses first. So we have 4 plus 7 equals 11. So copy everything, and then next multiply 4 and 7. So that's why we have here 28. Next, divide 28 by 11. We have 2.55. And now we can add 30.5 plus 2.55, and that is 33.05. Therefore, the mode of the scores of grade 7 in mathematics test is 33.05. As a summary, the mean value of the scores of grade 7 in mathematics test is 31.69, median value of 31.28, and a mode value of 33.05. If you find this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, click the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to keep updated for my new uploads. Thanks for watching!